Welcome to True Crime Stories. We always come up with new crimes, documentaries around the world. The documentary likely begins with what seems like a typical family scenario. The wife probably leads a normal life, but her world is shattered when she discovers the unthinkable. Her husband, the person she trusted most, has been having an affair with none other than her own mother. The title hints at deep emotional betrayal, toxic family dynamics, and the destructive impact this revelation has on everyone involved, culminating in murder. This documentary tells the tragic story of love, betrayal, and murder, focusing on the devastating consequences of a husband's affair with his wife's own mother. It would leave viewers reflecting on the complexities of relationships, the fragility of trust, and how emotional trauma can drive someone to a breaking point. The wife's actions, while horrifying, would likely be examined through the lens of her emotional and psychological state, making this a gripping and heartbreaking case. Becky Fredrickson was a beloved 31-year-old woman from San Antonio, Texas, known for her warm, kind personality and her exceptional skills as a baker. She owned Sweet Treats, a local bakery that had become a staple in her neighborhood. Famous for her delicious chocolate chip cookies and pumpkin spice muffins, Becky had built a loyal customer base. Many had been frequenting her bakery since it first opened, and she often donated baked goods to schools and community events like the annual San Antonio Christmas Parade. Becky was married to Michael Fredrickson, a 35-year-old financial advisor. They lived in a cozy, one-story house near the bakery, and to the outside world, their life seemed perfect. However, beneath the surface, cracks had begun to form in their marriage. Becky had been diagnosed with endometriosis, a condition that made it difficult for her to conceive, which had placed immense emotional strain on their relationship. Despite this, Becky threw herself into her work at the bakery, determined to focus on something she loved. But as the holiday season of 2019 approached, something felt off to Becky. Michael had become distant, spending long hours away from home and showing little interest in their marriage. Becky tried to confront him, but he brushed off her concerns. Feeling emotionally drained, she continued to immerse herself in her bakery. On the morning of September 15th, 2019, Becky's neighbor, Karen Simmons, noticed that Sweet Treats hadn't opened on time. Concerned, Karen went to check on Becky. As she approached the house, she noticed the front door was slightly ajar, an alarming sight since Becky was always careful about locking up. Karen entered cautiously, calling out Becky's name. When she walked into the kitchen, she found Becky lying on the floor in a pool of blood, the rolling pin used for baking stained and lying nearby. Karen immediately dialed 911, her hands shaking as she reported what she had found. The police arrived within minutes, led by Sergeant Maria Diaz, a veteran officer known for her thorough and compassionate approach. The crime scene was shocking. Becky's blood was splattered across the white tile floor of the kitchen, a stark contrast to the cozy home filled with framed photos of Becky and Michael's wedding day. The kitchen, once filled with the warmth of baking, was now a place of horror. Becky's apron was stained with blood, and her hands had defensive wounds, indicating that she had fought hard for her life. Chairs were knocked over, and a mixing bowl had been spilled, suggesting a violent struggle. Diaz, along with Officer James Isle, a younger member of the force, secured the area and began gathering evidence. As the forensic team arrived, led by the experienced medical examiner Dr. Lillian Pang, they collected blood samples, fingerprints, and any potential clues that might help explain what had happened. Dr. Pang noted that Becky had suffered multiple blunt force injuries to the head, estimating her time of death to be between 10 p.m. and midnight the previous night. Outside, the news of Becky's death quickly spread through the neighborhood. The bakery had been a beloved part of the community, and Becky's sudden and violent death left everyone in shock. Friends, customers, and neighbors gathered, whispering in disbelief as they struggled to comprehend how someone so kind and gentle could meet such a tragic end. As investigators dug deeper into Becky's life, their attention turned toward her husband, Michael. At first glance, Michael seemed like the ideal husband and a successful financial advisor, well known in San Antonio's professional circles. But behind closed doors, their marriage had been crumbling. Detectives soon uncovered a shocking secret. Michael had been having an affair. What made this revelation even more devastating was that the affair was with none other than Becky's own mother, Ruth Breedlove. Ruth, 48 years old, had re-entered B. Becky's life only a few years earlier after spending decades living a reckless, free-spirited lifestyle. She had always been a striking woman, full of charisma and flirtatious energy, even as she aged. The affair had started innocently enough, with Ruth flirting with Michael during family gatherings, but it quickly escalated into something far more serious. Michael and Ruth had been secretly meeting for months, even engaging in their affair in Becky's own home when she wasn't there. The betrayal of the affair between her husband and mother added a layer of complexity and heartbreak to the investigation. When questioned by detectives, Michael initially denied any involvement in Becky's death. He claimed that on the night of the murder, he had been working late at the office. However, as the investigation progressed, police uncovered text messages between Michael and Ruth, revealing the extent of their affair. The texts included explicit exchanges and plans to meet in secret, painting a picture of a man living a double life. The deeper the police looked into Michael's life, the more suspicious he became. His calm demeanor began to crack under pressure. Detectives found evidence that Becky had confronted Michael about his affair with Ruth the night she was killed. Text messages recovered from Michael's phone revealed a heated argument between him and Becky that escalated quickly. In one of the final texts, Michael had admitted to the affair, sending Becky into a state of fury. During the argument, Becky threatened to expose Michael's secret, and in a fit of rage and desperation, Michael lost control. Grabbing the rolling pin from the kitchen counter, he violently attacked Becky, striking her repeatedly until she collapsed. The brutality of the murder shocked even the seasoned investigators. Forensic evidence showed that Becky had fought for her life, but Michael's overwhelming anger had led to her death. As the investigation continued, Michael's affair with Ruth provided a clear motive for the crime. Detectives began to piece together the timeline of events, and it became clear that Michael had been spiraling out of control in the weeks leading up to Becky's death. The pressure of the affair, Ruth's involvement, and the impending collapse of his marriage had driven him to commit the unthinkable. On September 21, 2019, police arrested Michael Fredrickson at his home. When they arrived, Michael tried to maintain his composure, but the weight of the investigation was too much to bear. Detectives confronted him with the evidence they had gathered, the text messages, Ruth's pregnancy, and the growing suspicion surrounding his behavior. At first, Michael continued to deny his involvement in the murder, insisting that he had no reason to harm Becky. But as detectives pressed him about his affair with Ruth and the argument that had occurred on the night of the murder, Michael's resolve began to crumble. He became agitated and defensive, pacing the room and avoiding eye contact with the officers. Finally, under intense questioning, Michael broke down. He confessed to the affair and admitted that the argument with Becky had spiraled out of control. In a moment of blind rage, he had grabbed the rolling pin and attacked her, believing that if he killed her, he could escape the fallout from his affair with Ruth. Michael's confession was a devastating moment for the investigators and the community who had once seen him as a calm and collected man. Michael Fredrickson's trial began in December 2019, and the courtroom was packed with reporters and members of the community eager to hear the details of the shocking case. The prosecution, led by Assistant District Attorney Lisa Perez, presented a clear and chilling case. Michael had been driven to murder by the pressure of his affair with Ruth and her unexpected pregnancy. The text messages, Michael's confession and the brutal nature of the crime left little doubt about his guilt. The defense, led by attorney Mark Caldwell, attempted to portray Michael as a man under extreme emotional stress. Caldwell argued that Michael had not planned to kill Becky, but that the crime had been a tragic accident fueled by a heated argument. However, the jury was not swayed by this defense. After just 6 hours of deliberation, the jury found Michael Fredrickson guilty of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, bringing some measure of closure to Becky's family, who had been devastated by the betrayal and loss. Ruth, reeling from the fallout of the trial, found herself ostracized by the community. Her once secret affair was now public knowledge, and the pregnancy that had once been a source of excitement became a painful reminder of the destruction she had caused. In the end, Ruth decided to give up the child for adoption, hoping to start fresh in a new city.